The village in it with a map and a plan. No place too tiny for this determined man. Crossing the counties one by one, you'll see in every English corner a bit of history.
Welcome back to Hambleton again, everybody. Now behind me there you can see a building that used to be a pub. It was a sad day when that closed because it meant this place lost its real only amenity. There was another amenity of note in this place as well though. That was over the A1. It was a cafe. We're going to explore both the pub and where that cafe used to be in the parish of AINDERBY QUERNHOW. AINDERBY QUERNHOW, Aindreithi's farm near a quern-shaped burial mound. Hello everyone, we're ending the working week in Hambleton with the first of a pair of twins. This is AINDERBY QUERNHOW, situated on the B6267 Thirsk to Massam Road, just east of the A1M. It's about 5 miles west of Thirsk. Its twin, Middleton QUERNHOW, is over the former district boundary into Harrogate, and we will be covering that parish very soon. Both the QUERNHOW twins and the hamlet of How, which we covered yesterday, have names that make reference to a burial mound. The QUERNHOW was a small mound shaped like a quernstone, hence the name. QUERNHOW can alternatively mean Mill Hill. The mound was on a Roman road and it marked the boundary between the QUERNHOW twins. Unfortunately, the mound is no longer visible. It was demolished to make way for the upgrading of the A1M and is now lost under that road. However, the village's names still commemorate its existence, and until recently, so too did a cafe on the A1M itself. That cafe though has now disappeared. It had a memorial stone in its grounds though. At the end of this episode we'll see where that cafe used to be and what's in its place today. This is one of 3 Ainderbys in Hambleton. Later on in this series we'll also be touching Ainderby Myers and Ainderby Steeple. The latter refers to the local church spire and the former to some marshy mires. All 3 Ainderbys belong to Aindreithi, a Viking warrior whose name meant sole ruler. Let's see who rules over AINDERBY QUERNHOW today. From end to end, AINDERBY QUERNHOW measures less than a mile. It has no public amenities, although it did once have a pub. It was this building here. You're looking at what used to be the Black Horse. Now a private house, the pub didn't close right away. It was an Indian restaurant for a while called Jaipur Spice, but that relocated to the former Busby Stoop Inn, close to Carlton Miniot. Otherwise, AINDERBY QUERNHOW is all housing with a few farms here and there. There are no shops, no schools and no churches. The population is only around 70 people. It's a bit of a shame really that the QUERNHOW isn't visible anymore. That would have been a really good thing to have a look at. That doesn't mean though that we can't talk about it. AINDERBY QUERNHOW's name comes from Old Norse. A quernhow is a burial mound shaped like a quernstone or millstone, but the word can also mean mill hill. It's been spelt Wernhow and Werno too in the past. How is a common element in Yorkshire place names. The QUERNHOW marked the boundary between Ainderby and Middleton, the 2 QUERNHOW twins. It's no longer visible because the mound was demolished to make way for upgrades to the A1M. Its destruction was seen as something as a self-righteous act driven by money. More on the mound in a bit. AINDERBY QUERNHOW is twice mentioned in popular culture, firstly by Douglas Adams in The Meaning of Life. It's used as a word to describe those who claim to misuse the word gay in the historical sense. Secondly, it's mentioned by The Independent as sounding like an actor who specialises in playing raucous tennis-playing aristocrats. Those are some interesting factoids right there. Well, apparently that building behind me there is an old chapel. I didn't see that when I planned the route, I'll be honest with you. I'm a bit surprised, quite frankly, because it looks like a modern building just to look at it from the outside, but it's clearly not. It's you get close and personal to it, you can see it's much older than that, and my camera is wobbling all over the place. There's a bit of a breeze today, which is not really helping matters, to be honest with you. Anyway, we've reached the end of Ainderby Quernhow. We've walked from one end to the other, and that's not taken me very long at all. Now we're going to head back to the start, and we're going to take a trip across the A1 to the A6055, and that will tell us why and how Quernhow came to be part of Ainderby Quernhow's name. So on the way back, I thought I'd do this. You remember yesterday we were in How, and that took me 2 minutes just over to walk from one end to the other. Well, you could almost say the same thing about this if you put your skates on, because behind me you can see where the old chapel was that I've just shown you, and if I turn the camera around, in the very far distance over there you might be able to see my car, and that's just outside the pub, the old pub. That's how small this place is. The Quernhow was a Bronze Age burial mound that was some 4,000 years old. It was a pretty impressive looking tomb, according to an account by D.M. Waterman in 1951. It was, according to him, of primary importance in prehistoric times, as it stood on the Great Plain between the three great henges of Thornborough to the north and those on Hutton Moor to the south, accompanied by a number of other tumuli nearby. When Waterman and his team arrived here, the barrow appeared as a low spread mound about 3 foot in elevation, the exact limits of which were difficult to define due to large parts of it being covered over in mud that had been dumped there by the local landowner. Once archaeologists had stripped the centuries of soil from the damaged surface of the monument, a most impressive sight emerged. At the heart of the barrow was an imposing stone cairn, more or less flat-topped and with a circular face. The material of the cairn was composed of cobbles or boulders, all of local geological origin, ranging in size from a few inches to a foot or so in diameter. The standard of the building differed considerably throughout the structure. On the northeast and northwest, the stones were quite carefully laid, standing to a height of 22 inches. However, the work became increasingly shoddy towards the south, where the construction had deteriorated to a point where whole sections had fallen away from the cairn mass. Unfortunately, given the brutality of modern life, the cairn and the Quernhow are no longer here. Let's see what is. As you leave the village to the north, you'll pass under the A1 and then onto the A6055, which is the old route of the A1. Along there used to be the Quernhow Café. The land where the Quernhow Café was located was previously part of a service area for the A1. It was operated by Southways Services, who provided the first facilities of their type on this stretch of road in the 1970s. By 1973 there was a forecourt on either side of the road, with the southbound side being branded Shell. The southbound service area had its own connection to the B6267, allowing local traffic to use its restaurant. When it was announced that the A1 would be replaced by a motorway in 1989, it threatened to make the southbound services redundant. There was a proposal to upgrade it to a full motorway service area, but that was never carried through. The southbound forecourt became a BP station, but closed soon afterwards. Both its restaurant and forecourt were left derelict until 2009, when they were demolished to make way for the new A1M motorway. The northbound forecourt was the first to close, however, way before the southbound side did. The land would later be used by the Quernhow Café. It was advertised as a truck stop with accommodation, and it was still going less than a decade ago. The site of the Quernhow Café today is now logistics company Alfred Hymas. Now, I'm sure you've seen these lorries flying down motorways before. Let's learn a bit about them. In 1911, Alfred Hymas started up his business with a pony and trap, taking villagers to and from his local railway station 2 miles away. By 1925, he had bought his first motor vehicle, which could quickly be converted from passenger to goods by moving the seats. He soon progressed to becoming a local coal merchant, and he supplied villages such as Burton Leonard, which we covered last year. He also collected produce from local farms and transported it to the local railway stations too. In 1939, a fleet of 7 wagons was employed hauling stone to build the local aerodromes for World War II. The business continued to grow, but in 1953 Hymas passed away and was succeeded by his eldest son, Alan. He was left a total of 10 wagons and 3 coaches to manage. Only 3 years later, Alan was killed in a tragic accident, and his brother Morris was left to run the business at the age of 19. Gradually, the business expanded more and more, and by the early 1980s, Alfred Hymas Limited was involved in transporting large volumes of coal to a number of Yorkshire power stations. It also began container work at that time too. Throughout these very successful years, the company's fleet peaked at over 70 wagons. The company also developed a farming sideline with a farm measuring 1,100 acres. The farm was for many years managed by Dave Winkup, a director of the company who still has an active role within the business today. Today, Stuart Hymas is the company's managing director, and he's supported by his brother Robert, who has vast experience driving. And speaking of driving, it's time we were off. See you down the road elsewhere in Hambleton another time. Now, just before I go, remember, this video is part of a huge project to visit every civil parish in England. That's more than 10,000. These routes are pre-planned, and due to time constraints, I can't cover every detail or walk down every street. Please don't complain if this video missed something out. I pronounce names how I choose to. I am very aware that local dialect may vary, and I don't take kindly to criticism about this. You've been warned. It's impossible to know everything too. If this video was terrible, make your own. If you're a regular watcher of The Village Idiot, you're not the only one. If you've got a small business, why not use my videos to advertise it? Leave a comment below if you're interested. And finally, thanks for watching this episode, everybody. Give us a like and a subscribe if you've enjoyed this episode, and share it with your friends and relatives. It all helps to keep this mission going. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as The Village Idiot, and I'm out.